But tell me, like, when you first bought, you went through a buyer's agent first. That's how you got into
I originally reached out to Sam Gordon to buy me an investment property.
Yeah.
Right. And at the time I was working in sales here in Sydney. I was on the commission trail, like, you know, you make a big lump of cash for some comms, just sign up some new clients. And then as that was starting to come in, this was all pre-COVID. And I was basically just looking for what do I do with this money? Like, if I'm making decent money, I want to invest it.
Yeah.
I was thinking shares, people were talking shares, blah, blah. And
Which heaps of people bring up. Like, always someone's like, oh, you got to get into the share market.
Yeah. And I had like $5,000 here, whatever. I could put a little bit of money into shares. And then I spoke to a mate of mine who knew Sam through a friend, and he's like, young dude, buyer's agent, and he's just hungry for it, just getting mad deals for clients. And I thought, okay, like, why would I use that? And he's like, could you make a 15, 20, 30 grand mistake in buying in Brisbane because you have no idea what you're doing? I was like, yeah, like, likelihood is high. I've never bought a property before. I don't want to make a mistake. He's like, well, why don't you just pay this guy, you know, whatever, and then you're making more, like you're guaranteed pretty much to make some type of return. Okay, sweet. That sounds no-brainer to me. Called him up, blah, blah, blah. And then we ended up kicking it off. COVID lockdown happens. We chat. And he says, mate, you want to come work for me? So that's what, and then I did the deal when I first went and worked there.
Yeah, wow.
And then I was like, okay, he's getting into this new market. I saw him buy something. And when I first started, I was like, this guy's got a big portfolio. He's my age. I'll just follow what he's doing, you know?
Yeah.
And I saw him buy something in Perth. I was like, okay, sweet. I'll buy one in Perth.
Yeah.
And then bought one in Perth, and like the equity has doubled in 4 years. And you're like, when I first did it, I was, is it the right thing? Blah, blah, blah. I told my brother and my parents, you know, you should have bought in Sydney. My brother just bought a place in Cronulla, an apartment. I should have done that. Oh, shit. Anyway, fast forward 6 months, we bought it 350. Bank val comes back 420. Sweet.
Bang.
And then I was like, all right.
You saw results straight away.
Right, within 6 months, boom,
Yeah.
results. I waited another 6 months, 12 months in, reval come back at, wasn't that much more, but it was like bit over 450.
Yeah.
And then bang, took the equity out, went again. And then it snowballed. And that's actually what he taught me, is like the first two will be tough, right? The first two will be tough. And then you start to get some momentum behind you. You start to get some equity behind you, and you're no longer saving big lumps of cash to get into deals. You're buying well into growth locations, and it snowballs. So, but man, he taught me so much about property, but he mainly taught me about buying well in growth locations and just assessing deals. Like markets, like let's say, well, we're in Coogee now, like all of Coogee would go up because population growth and all this type of stuff, demand. But then there's pockets that you want to buy and there's pockets that you don't want to buy. Understanding that remotely, you go there, we get boots on the ground, we travel around Perth for a while, we speak to some local agents, talk to some property managers, you just understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And then, okay, we want to buy here, don't want to buy here. Well, basic stuff, like stuff you'd know.
Yeah.
You want to buy close to schools, you want to buy close to freaking transport, you want to buy close to the beach. Like all these things are like, we know it, but being from Sydney, even being from down south in Cronulla, you're like, buy the 2-bar-1 apartment near the beach because it's close, it's comfortable, it's safe.
Yeah.
But I'm spending less money interstate with way more prospect for growth. So like to me, it was like this fear thing. Like, do I do what's known, safe and comfortable, or do I just do something out of the box? At the time, I didn't have much money and I just had my daughter. So I was like, fuck it. Like I'll just have a crack.
Yeah.
But,
because that's scary. You got a young kid.
Yeah.
And going, I've got potentially just enough for a small deposit.
Yep.
What do I do?
Man, I feel like even now it's even way more than what it was back then. That was like 2020, right? Yeah. Just pre-COVID. And so back then it was like, I felt the stakes increase because I had my daughter, and my wife wasn't working at the time. She was on maternity leave. And I was like, I don't see how we're getting ahead with this scenario. We want to have more kids. You're going to be on maternity leave again soon. And how are we going to like build some wealth? Like I can't save my way to any wealth. So we got to start investing. And it was like property or shares. And so, yeah, we did the property route. And like I look back now and I think we've got over $1 million worth of equity in the portfolio. We've done it from one deposit when we first started, pretty much.
What did you start with?
Bro, I actually didn't. I started with 10 grand. My parents went guarantor on the first deal. And so the 10 grand was stamps and my parents went guarantor. And then that's why I waited the 6 months. At the 6-month mark, we refinanced, got the parents off.
Yeah.
And then we waited the next 6 months to actually get the 50 grand out for the next deal. And then I saved an extra 20 during that time and then added, that was 70. And then I got into another.
So you're in for essentially 30,000 to grow $1 million in.
And you think that and you're like, what the hell? How's that
less
possible?
than 5 years.
Yeah, less than 5 years.
Wow.
But, and I am so grateful for what he's taught me. It's buying well in growth locations, and that's it.
Yeah. And like for you doing the process yourself first time, and like there's no other option. Like you're risking your savings essentially. Like you're risking your safety net. Like because that 10 grand you had that was it. You risked it.
It was like I look back now, and I like the first 2 deals that I did. Were both in Perth, both double brick houses on slabs, solid stuff, One was 45 minutes on the south, down south, and then one was 20 minutes, like probably like inner city-ish, just outside the inner city. But I think because I only had 10, it was not like, fuck, I got 10, like it's not much.
Yeah.
I may as well do something, right?
Yeah.
But I spoke to another guy yesterday, and he was saying the same thing. His son's 3. They want to have more kids. He's making good income, but he's like, I'm renting, but like, I can see that I need to do something to get ahead. Property's the only thing that I can really see, but he's like, I'm not going to earn my way to some type of financial freedom, but like, I need to do something else. And he's like, I think it's property. I was like, yes, man. So I explained it all to him, sat down, showed him the model, and he's like, yeah, okay, I've got to do this. I've got to go hard. I got decent income for the next few years. I'm going to go hard on this.
Bang.
So, but that's like, in Sydney, I feel like it's getting to that.
Yeah.
Like it's hard. Like what's the average house price in Sydney?
Well, like when I first started, so I started about 5-6 years ago now, and obviously a lot of my clients are younger. So younger, they're coming straight out of uni. They're on their first full-time wage. Great, they want to get into the property market. They're ready to start their journey. They could buy in the eastern suburbs. That doesn't happen anymore.
No
you
way.
you cannot like. First job, if you want to get into the property market and get on that ladder, you can't, like, where you used to be able to buy a 1-bedroom Maroubra. Like, you can't afford it now. I mean, you're starting at sort of 7, 8, 900,000 and upwards of there, depending on what it is.
Man, yeah, that's similar in the Shire, like you're paying similar money for apartments.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing young families, and like all they can really afford, they want to upsize, and all they can really afford is a small villa, a small 3x1 villa for like, 1.5, 1.6. And like, that's not what they envisioned.
Yeah.
And then the rent vesting strategy for a few years seems to be what like is the only path for people. Okay. Yeah. We bought this asset young and it's gone up in value somewhat and we've saved some money. Now we want to upsize. Oh shit. We can't really, we can't afford that level of mortgage. We can't even get that level of mortgage. So what do? We got to take this capital and grow it somewhere else to come back to this market at some point and do the same.
Yeah.
Which is what I just done for my brother. I bought my brother 2 properties in Perth back in 2022. 320, 340 were both purchase prices. 3 bed, 1 bath, double brick houses. And he just sold one for 600 and he's got the other one on the market now. And so he put 20% deposits in because he had some decent savings. And so like he'd probably pull, what?
So now he's like, so he's nearly
deposit.
built 500,000-600,000 plus whatever he had to start with that he's going to roll into the house.
Roll into the house. He's got his apartment in Cronulla as well. He's got pretty low debt on that. And so he'd probably sell the apartment in Cronulla and then he's buying a house in the Shire somewhere for around 2. But if he didn't buy the investment properties, how do you get the extra 500 to, like he's not carrying a, $1.7 million mortgage.
Yeah.
He's carrying maybe like 900, 800, which is, for him and his family, it's manageable.
Yeah.
He can still live. He can still do what he wants. They have the family home. They've got 2 kids. Perfect. But how do you do that now without having a bulk bunch of cash?
Yeah.
I don't know. You're the mortgage broker. How do you do it?
No, it's like, essentially, if you don't have cash or you've never purchased property, you're not buying a house for your first place. You cannot, unless you've inherited money, unless, if you've got family that are going to gift you the money, which not a lot of people do. I mean, it is common that family do have to help out, and that's what people have to do now. But if you don't have family, how do you build that deposit?
Man, for me too. Like my parents went guarantor on my investment property, bro, there's so many things people are saying to me. Oh, you're foregoing the first homeowners grant, blah, blah, blah. You're going to lose that opportunity for when you want to buy in Sydney. Like, and you're like, oh, I don't see any other way. But surely so many people talk to you now about rent vesting or guarantor loans.
Pretty much 4 out of 5 of our first home buyers are using a family guarantor.
There you go.
Yeah. Even it's probably like 4.5 out of 5.
It's basically 5.
It's
5 out of 5.
Yeah. It's like you can save for the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, however long it will take you to save a deposit, or you can get in today and build, 70,000, 80,000 in growth in the first year.
That's right. And everyone, the growth on property in most of this country, right? The areas that people want to live in, it'll outpace people's savings rates. Like you can't save to catch, to beat the market. Yeah. How are you going to do that?
Yeah.
The property prices are going up.
Yeah.
Your saving rate's probably a couple grand a month.
Yeah.
And that's it. So let's say you're saving $2,000 a month, you save an extra 20-ish grand a year. It's not making that much
what do you do? The property is still growing.
Still growing.
That deposit is also growing as well with the property price.
That's it. So what about rent vesting? Many people talking to you about rent vesting?
Well, you tell me about it, because not a lot of people understand it fully. They get it. They live where they want to live. And then they have investment properties with a tenant paying most of the outgoings or the repayments on it. But explain it to me.
It's it's basically that. I'm still rent vesting. I live in a decent sized villa in Gymea Bay. We're paying $650 a week rent there, low rent. And then we're buying.
Just look at this good negotiator.
It's actually not I've looked it up on RP Data, and the guy who owns it in his super fund. So I think it's just been sitting in his super fund for years, and it's just ticking over, and it's all good. But they haven't upped the rent on us for ages. And the last increase was actually $10. So we were paying $640 and they upped it.
It's a good landlord.
So it's a good landlord. But I think if that was on the open market today, probably you're renting that for $1,000, $1,100 a week.
Hope he's not listening.
Probably not. He's probably not. I think he's an older guy. And then we've bought 2 properties in Perth and then 3 properties in Queensland. And I think the whole thing with rent vesting, you have to do the vesting part, the rent part. If people understand, okay, I'm going to rent where I want to live, but most of my savings goes to my portfolio because it is so heavily built on debt. Yeah, my savings rate isn't amazing, but I'm feeding this machine that is giving me 10 to 20% growth per annum. I'd rather feed that than just sit the money in my savings account and do what with it.
It's different. It's a different way to watch your savings grow.
Yes.
And I always say, stop watching your bank balance, watch your assets grow.
Mm-hmm. Can we just touch on that for a minute? I had this young nurse. She was a nurse at St. George Hospital. She inherited about 150. And she was like, Europe's calling me. Before I am going to go, but before I go and have all that money accessible to me in Europe, buy me an investment property. Ended up buying her a place in Perth. This would have been 2 years ago or something. And we bought it for $350. That place is now worth bit over $500. And she's now coming back to me. Her and her boyfriend want to buy another property, but she inherited some money and she wanted just to put it to work, right? And sometimes, I'm bringing up this whole story because when she said I want to do something with it, she was saying I have grown so attached to that money in my bank account. She's like, I check it daily that it's there, and it gives her a level of comfort, a level of I'm okay. I'll be okay. I've got heaps of cash in the bank. But she still knew I had to do something with it. Having that there is good, but I can spend it. But if it's in an asset, that asset's going up and it's going to be harder to access, you give your mum some money or you give someone else some money, just hold it. Don't let me touch it, just hold it.
Yeah, I see it all the time. I'm like, why don't you have your savings in your account? But I get it.
The people don't want to put it on Sportsbet or whatever.
Yes.
So, but yeah, there is that comfort in just having the cash. But yeah, you're doing the rent, you're renting somewhere where you want to live, and then you're investing your money.
Yeah.
And if you're doing that well, you'll outpace the amount of money that's I'm not saying this for a brew, oh wow, look at me, but I've made $1 million in equity in 4 years, and there's no way in hell that I would have even been able to save that because I don't earn that, right? So how could I have made $1 million or saved $1 million? I can't. People say, oh, you'll sell those assets and you'd pay tax on it. Yes, I will. But let's say I end up putting 700 in my pocket. I still wouldn't have been able to save 700. So it just gives you options.
Yeah.
My life hasn't changed much, but to be honest, like I'm driving a Hyundai Tucson family car. I got 2 kids in school. Like our lifestyle hasn't changed. We've got some niceties. We've gone on some holidays, whatever. But like I built the start of a property portfolio, and now I've just got some options.
Yeah.
I haven't exercised those options yet because those markets are still moving and the properties are still growing. But in another 3, 4, 5 years, when those assets have matured a bit more, what options will I have then? And what would the Sydney market look like? What could I do then? Hopefully my income goes up by then too. But it's just options for later. And sometimes it's hard for people to think like that.
Yeah.
You know, they just want something now. They want to do something now.
I always say build the opportunity.
100%. Build it.
Because you can always exit at any time. Like property is liquid. You can exit. So build the opportunity so you have the option to exit if you want to.
Yeah. And then like I couldn't have said it better. Build the opportunity, exit when you want. But I've now gotten to this stage where people are like, well, you could settle down and buy a decent place. And, you live in Gymea Bay. You could buy something in Gymea Bay. Yeah, I could. But I also have now learned this like game of like building money. Like you said before, like I took like 30, it would have been like 35-ish, like mid-30s grand. And I've turned it into $1 million capital or $1 million equity. Well, now I've got $1 million equity. What could I do with that? Like, how do I replicate that and make that in the next 5 or 6 years, maybe double or triple that? How could so you understand the game, and then it's not like, well, I actually don't mind if I keep renting in Gymea Bay because I actually I've understood this game of investing in property now, and that seems smarter to me than doing something else. And I've got some runs on the board now, so it makes it a bit funner, but it's a very contrarian thing to do.
Yeah.
Everyone is still talking about, oh, that place in Gymea Bay, do you own it? Do you live in it? Oh, no, we just rent it. And they're like, oh, okay. But I don't say, oh, but I've got 5 investment properties, so don't worry about it. Like, you're just like, and people, there's still this like undercurrent of like, if you live there, you should own it. And I think that's passed down from our parents.
Yeah. I think as well, like 100% it comes down from generational. It's the Australian dream of going, I've got to own my own house. It's sort of been built into us. But shows like The Block, when you get to renovate something yourself, like you get to, I think that also adds to it as well.
Yes. Yeah. It's idolized.
Yeah.
They own their place. Like they're doing well. They've made it.
Yeah.
Not that that's bad. Like I still want to own a place. Like I love the Shire. I want to buy something there one day. But more than anything, I'm trying to zoom out and think like, how do I like create opportunities for myself and my family later on? Like my kids are only in primary school. Like I want, that's nothing really, they're still young. I'm only 35. So I may as well, like learn the high value skills.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to get into this whole buyer's agent investment property space, because I wanted to learn a skill that like I could pass to my kids. I understand about how to invest in property and blah, blah, blah. So,
and how, like, for you, like, going through this all yourself, like, you came from not knowing probably a lot about property compared to what you know now. You've gone to a buyer's agent that helped you through the process. You got inspired. You started working for that buyer's agent. You built all this massive knowledge. How, like, what sort of benefits do you get out of that for your own clients? Like, how are you giving them your own scenario? Like, this is what I did. Like, what is it?
I guiding the clients, like the guy I mentioned to you before, that I spoke to yesterday, young guy, 29. For me, a lot of it was around the emotional side. Like you need to do something. If I'm looking into my future, how am I going to get there? I don't want to be working like an absolute dog for the rest of my life. So I've got to make decisions now to, like you said, build the opportunity. So I talk a lot about that with clients and help them understand, okay, this is the path you're on now, and this is where you want to get to. If you're not changing this path, like, what's the likelihood of you getting there? And most people are like, I've got no idea. I got no idea how I want to get to where I want to get to. And then just the sheer volume of property transactions. Every property is different. Every vendor is different. Every agent's different. But when you've done hundreds of deals, there's patterns that emerge in what happens in a transaction. Sometimes I used to say to one of my associates that I work with, make sure that you ask this, and this. Like something comes up, and he's like, "Oh, why would you do that?" I've seen this before. When people use particular language, when people say or omit certain things, or like just give you little crumbs, I've noticed, they're saying that now because they don't want us to offer that, or they're saying that now because they're kind of hinting that if we offer a cash offer with maybe 50 grand less, we'll snag the deal. Like just little things like that. They're like, I've seen this before. I know what to do here.
Yeah.
And as well, when you're doing multiple deals in a particular market, you start to get to know the agents pretty well, and they trust you, and they're giving you a little bit more information than the average punter.
Yeah.
They're trying to sell the house. You're trying to buy the house, and
you're a genuine buyer.
Each time. Like I wouldn't work with someone unless they gave me a pre-approval. Hey, here's my pre-approval. Great. Okay. How much capital do you have? All right, let's go find you something. These are the markets that I'm buying at the moment for this particular price point. And then I'm then talking to agents about this particular buyer, what I'm sourcing, what we're looking for. And they're like, yeah, cool. Like they're paying a buyer's agent fee, so they must be committed to buying. Whereas a lot of people, they look on realestate.com, they have a look, they just call the agent, throw in a verbal offer. Oh, mate, yeah, would you take this? Yeah, no, that'll do it. Bang, and then they don't speak to them again for like another week or two. They call the agent back up. Hey, man, yeah, we're ready to go. Send us the contract. Oh, mate, the place is sold. We sold it. We sold the place. We didn't hear from you, you know? And people, these agents, they're dickheads, they're this and that. It's like, they're there to just do their job. They're just trying to sell the property. So, I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but just
please do.
Being through the process multiple times in a particular market, like I'm sure the Coogee market here is different to the Cronulla market, and the way that things are normally done is probably a little bit different. But we're still in the Sydney beachside area, but things are probably done slightly different here to there. And then I've been buying properties for people in Perth, in Townsville, and it's slightly different there. And there's certain things that agents want and don't want and do and don't do in each market. So
tell me some of the differences, differences between like a Queensland market and a New South Wales market.
Queensland market, basically.
Or do you buy? Are you heavy on the Queensland? Yeah. We keep saying Perth, but
Perth is actually one of the cleanest sales contracts that there is. It's very clean, very like everything's just their basic contract is like watertight, both for buyer and seller. Like it's the expectations on building and pest inspections. In Sydney, everything's done like unconditional bang, like you're buying it unconditionally off the bat. In Perth and in Queensland, you're very rarely buying unconditional, almost never, right?
Yeah.
In Queensland, you're buying a property. Let's say I buy some place in Townsville for $500,000. You're only putting a $2,000 sales deposit down when we exchange contracts. Bang. I'm getting it subject to finance, subject to building and pests. Normally getting 2 or 3 weeks on both. Then if something comes up in the building and pests, I'm talking in Queensland, almost anything. You're negotiating on it. Oh man, this is fucking got some water damage on it. We want $1,000 off. Oh, this is, and like you could, sometimes I've gotten up to 30, 40 grand reductions at the building and pest stage. You don't want to, but shit comes up.
Yeah.
And you're like, we can walk away from this deal, or the owner can give us 20, 30, 40 grand off, and we can fix the fencing. We can fix this, we can fix that. We still do the deal. That's not all the time. This is a nice story for a podcast.
Yeah.
But majority of the time, the agents would let me know enough about what's going on. But Queensland, bro, you negotiate the deal, then you negotiate the building and pests, then you go unconditional. And there sometimes can be a decent swing in what you pay up front to what you pay at the end.
I didn't realise that.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Which model do you like better?
I like WA the best, to be honest, because WA is the same, but the seller, it's only major structural defects, and the seller has first right of refusal to fix it. So it's like operating on the pretense of the seller doesn't know that what's like a major defect that I always used to get. It's like the beams in the roof were sagging, just because like let's say a tree was there and then like the roof started to sag because like just the weight of branches or something falling on it over the years. So that was common. The fix is like less than $5,000 to fix that, but you would get your solicitor to email the other side. We found this major structural defect. They've got 14 days to come back to you. Yes, we'll fix it. 95% of the time, they'll just say, yes, they fix it. And then the other 5% of the time, it's kind of split. No stuff you bought it off market for cheap. We're not doing anything, or we'll just give you the cash off. So it's very clean. Like, it's just like, you're not, as a buyer's agent, stressed of what's coming up in the building and pest, because you know that it will be resolved. In Queensland, it's a bit more cowboyish. Loose, they're not disclosing much, but then you're finding out a lot in the building and pest stage, and then you got to try and price up what are all these defects priced at, and then you're getting another price reduction. So WA is clean because the expectation is that if something's wrong, someone's going to fix it. Queensland, you're negotiating if they're going to fix it or not. New South Wales is you buy, you like it or you don't,
Yeah.
You take it or
leave it.
Yeah.
If you find something after you bought it, that's your issue.
Yeah, that's right. And buying in all Victoria is very similar to New South Wales, but buying in the other states, you're like, our buyers are way more protected in Queensland and WA than they are in New South Wales and Vic.
Do you touch Victoria much? Because that's a market that sort of hasn't grown a lot in the last couple of years.
It hasn't done too much. I think just like the political landscape, you see like a lot of regional Victoria had a huge pump post-COVID because it just seemed like people just leaving Melbourne. But it hasn't had much.
Well, you had to get out of there, didn't you?
Had to get out of there. Right?
Yeah.
But Brisbane is now more expensive than Melbourne.
What do you think of that?
It seems undervalued, huh?
Yeah.
It seems undervalued.
Yeah. As in Melbourne's undervalued. Yeah.
But I think a lot of people from Melbourne, like there was a migration data. It was like, just post-COVID time, everyone had left Victoria. Everyone was leaving Victoria. Where was the highest population states of like migration? Queensland was the highest, massive numbers, and then WA was the next highest. And everyone else is pretty much like Canberra, Sydney, Adelaide. Like they had some type of net gain, but Victoria was like well in the negative. A lot of people left Melbourne. And I think so many people leave, like obviously a bunch of inventory comes on the market, people start to sell, and you're like, it just drives prices down.
Yeah.
But then the inventory started to stabilize over the last few years, and now it's kind of just sitting there and it seems cheap, when you compare it to other major capitals. You're not buying a 4x2 house in Perth under 700,000 now, But I could buy you a 3x1 house in parts of Melbourne, like in the city, 30 minutes from the city. You're buying them under 600,000.
Because back like 5 years ago, Victoria as a state was the go-to state.
Everyone was like, best place to live in the world, blah, 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 multiple years. I think it was like, because I lived in Melbourne for a little while before we had kids, and that was like 2016, 2017. And back then it was like one of the best cities to live in the world. What happened to them? But now, like, it seems cheap.
Yeah. So. And is that an area that you're going, okay, this could be our next go-to? Because what CoreLogic posted the other day, 8.1% growth since February 2020 in Melbourne, and then you compare that to something like Brisbane, Adelaide that had 70 to 75% growth in the same period.
Yeah. Without giving too much away, like I have been to Melbourne in the last 3 months multiple times, and very in tune with a few different councils.
Yeah.
In Victoria.
What's like obviously you're flying to Melbourne. Like how important is it getting on the ground and touching, feeling, speaking to these agents?
I think when you first enter a market, it's very important, right? Because you want to meet some of the property managers are probably the best people to speak to be honest, because they're the ones that know where to live, where not to live, what areas are a bit scummy, what aren't. You speak to a sales agent, oh yeah, that's great street. This place here, that's great. Everything's great. But when you speak to a property manager, then they're starting to tell you, oh, that's a bit dodged. This is a good corridor. That's not a good corridor. So try and speak to a lot of property managers. That also starts to form some relationships around how to get access to some properties. But yeah, you want to do it a few times when you're entering in, and then you get a decent lay of the land. And I'm not against buying in bad pockets, to be honest. Like if you could buy in, I don't know, what's a seen as a rougher area in Sydney, let's say like Mount Druitt or like Campbelltown or something.
Yeah.
If you were offered a place 6 years ago in Campbelltown for 500,000, would you buy it?
I don't know. You tell me.
You probably wouldn't, right?
Yeah.
You probably wouldn't have backed.
Are you scaring me even saying the name?
But like, well, you're not buying much in Campbelltown now under $1 million. So like, you would have doubled your money from buying that place a few years ago to now. So like, you're making the return. What difference does it make? Yeah, you might have some unsavory tenants, but you find some of these rougher areas, the vacancy rates are also super low because not many people are buying rental properties there. I'm not saying to do it. I'm saying that if that's all that someone can afford, and if you want to buy a 2x1 unit in Cronulla for 850,000, or you buy something in an emerging market that's a little bit more scummy, the unit in Cronulla will probably go to 900, and then this place that's a little bit scummy that's starting to gentrify because of affordability in a major capital city could go from 600 to 900. Like, I would rather buy that asset.
Yeah.
But you're buying in a scummy area, but I'm only doing this for the return. That's the only reason I'm buying.
Numbers, everything.
Numbers, everything. Yeah. Driven by numbers.
What are the numbers like? Like, what are you... So let's start with, what are you sort of buying a lot of, and what do the numbers look like?
Like price points.
Yeah.
I'm buying some stuff in Vic for like 450 to 550 within one particular area. And then if we're going more into the metro, you're talking like 6-ish to like 850.
Yeah. And you're doing numbers with clients, so they're understanding what all the costs are, what strata, council, repayments are. What is the some of those costs? Like as in like what's...
To get in?
No, as in like what's the ongoing cost? Like what does it actually feel to own in one of these sorts of properties?
A good question. Most of the stuff, I would sit down with the client beforehand, assess how much capital they've got to put into a deal. Let's say they've got like 150-ish, They're buying something for around 600, something like that. Their council rates, water rates, property management fees, insurance, those are the big ones, like the big holding costs. I try and steer clear of the strata stuff if I can. But let's say you're doing that and then you're getting decent rental income. Let's say it's like a 5% rental income. You're probably out of pocket $7,000 to $1,000 a month.
Pretty good to own a property,
right? I find that's
pair that with what's the growth on that?
The growth,
yeah.
But what I've experienced in some of the, let's talk about under market or undervalued markets. When I first entered into Perth back in 2020, you were looking at like 10% growth in the first year. Then what I bought for 350 went to low fours, a little bit more than 10%. Next year was 20%, 25%, 25%, 15% was the time frame of which I've held in Perth. So like you're talking at the start as things are bubbling along, starting to recover, things are starting to gentrify and it's becoming a bit of a market. That's when I'm trying to get clients in early. You're looking at, it's not running much, 10%-ish, maybe less, 5 to 10%. Then as the market starts to mature and that's something that I'm looking at a lot. You can just go into SQM listings, like total listings in a particular postcode. And if you see the trend going, stock levels going down, and if you can see it rapidly going down, the only reason why stock would be going that rapidly down is because there's an increase in demand. It's not like people are not selling their houses or not moving anymore. It's just that all the stock gets gobbled up. I'm looking for that. Like, okay, there's a heavy decrease in stock levels. Demand must be high for that to happen. And then stock levels seem to bottom out. And then when it bottoms out, supply's low, demand's high, boom, prices go up.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what drives that. Affordability, infrastructure, jobs, like all these things we know about. You can type it into ChatGPT,
Yeah.
What makes a good investment market. And then we've got scores around affordability and stuff that you look at to find out, okay, I pick this market. If you did that, you'd probably find like 15 to 20 markets of like, these are all good. I don't want to be buying across 15 to 20 markets. I try and pick 2 or 3 where my clients could buy that would be comfortable because I just know what my client pool looks like.
Yeah.
And so the markets would be around 450 to 500, and then some nicer stuff in the metros around like 600 to 800. And then your holding costs would be, in the nicer markets, you're paying more, but you're getting more rent. In the lower markets, you're paying less, so you got less debt, and you're getting less rent. So it's like, let's say $1,000 a month out of pocket, but I feel like that's most people's saving rates. Most people are saving more than that a month.
Yeah, exactly.
So
$1,000 a month, so 12,000 a year to potentially get a return between sort of just at a 10% growth on a $500,000 place, 50 grand.
Thank you.
12 grand's tax deductible.
Yep.
And we're in a declining rate market. Like, I mean, when does that property become positively geared?
Yeah, it depends on the market, but you'd have to see rates going down like sub 4%, because your holding costs are all the same. Like your insurance is not going to change. Your property management fees probably going to go up if anything, because rents might go up a little bit. Your council rate's going to stay the same. Like, so most of your fixed costs, like holding costs, pretty much the same, other than the interest rate. So it'll need to dip a fair chunk to beat the fixed holding costs of insurance, property management.
Yeah, but when you pair that with, obviously, one, declining rates paired with rental prices going up every year, there will be a point that pays for itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I try and focus on the bigger strategy and the bigger picture of like, how are you going to get to where you want to get to? Is it buying the house in the Shire or here in the East or whatever?
Yeah.
In the next 5 to 7 years to work backwards. And if you've got to be out of pocket 12 grand a year, okay, cool. If that's going to give you even just a 10% return or whatever for the first year, and then the market matures and you get a 15, 20% return, you've turned 12 or 24 grand into maybe 100. I'll do that.
Yeah.
If you said to me right now, give me 24 grand, I'll give you 100. I don't have 24 here, but I'll call some people, get the 24, take the 100 and give them their money back, and I'm a front. But sometimes it takes people sometimes to like get it into their head of like, I need to do something to get ahead. But man, I wasn't trained. My mum's an accountant, bro. She is so conservative. She's South African and she's an accountant. So she's like ultra conservative,
Double.
Spending money is like, don't spend any money. And then save every single dollar. That's what she taught me. And it's like, what's that going to get me, bud?
Yeah.
Like, okay, don't spend. I was like, you try and be as frugal as you can. And then you save everything. But now what? And what I have like believe and what I've tried to like do is just take it to the next level. My dad always used to say this to me of like, each generation has to like, just put a little bit forward, take another step forward.
Push the boundary.
Yeah, push the boundary.
Push it.
My parents came from Cape Town, South Africa. They moved out here. They moved to Miranda, and that was their step to like push it. All right, we'll like give our kids a better life, better surroundings, or whatever. Okay, cool. And then they just saved all their money and tried to pay off their home loan. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Like that's good, but like, you're in your 60s and you're still working, so it's not the best. So I'm trying to like, all right, I'll invest. I'll save the money, but I'll invest it. Who knows what they're taking? And then my daughters, I hope they take it further.
Wow.
Than what I do.
Do you? So let's go into that. You've just started your own business.
Yes.
Do you see them joining the business one day? I mean, what 5 and what's the other daughter?
Well, my daughter's 6 and 4.
6 and 4.
So they're just babies. They're just babies. But,
might be a bit too early to call it.
But I think about skill sets, you know what I mean? Like I really want them to have skill sets. My dad, he used to own the Caltech service station here in Coogee, like just across the road from the cemetery when we were younger.
Oh, wow, there you go.
And so
it's Ampol now.
Now.
Yeah, Ampol. Yeah, yeah.
That would have been back in like most of the 90s, right? Most of the 90s, my dad owned that service station there. And it was like, he was just a hard worker, bro. Like he would, sick, whatever, he'd show up and he owned it in a partnership. So that some guy owned the Bowsers or whatever, and then he owned the mechanical workshop part. And the guy would show up at 5 o'clock, fix cars till 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, come home, sleep. And he just show up, just like a hard work ethic. And I remember even just like my own mental thinking of when we were kids, my dad was like, before we go to footy on Saturday, you guys are going to get up and mow the lawn. You're going to get all your jobs done before we do the fun stuff. And like, that was just ingrained in me. And now like I approach most of my days in the business like that. Like, what's the hard stuff? Like, I'm going to do all that shit now before 10 o'clock. And then I'm going to do stuff that's easy and fun, like client meetings or like partnership meetings or like, doing some deals or whatever. Do all the hard shit first. And like, he ingrained that into me from a young age. So I think like, that's just like a skill set and mentality. What skill sets and mentality do I want to teach my kids?
Yeah.
I haven't figured it out yet. They're still young.
Yeah.
But I think
You're
about it
getting
a
there.
lot. I think about it a lot of a lot of the thing is like the way they think about money, the way they think. I'm trying to get them to think about like adding value. As a buyer's agent, what am I doing? Like I'm buying a property for someone. They could buy it themselves. I said all the time. Oh, why can't I just buy myself? Oh, sweet. Buy it yourself. I don't care. But the value that you add in helping someone navigate towards getting to a particular goal, that's the value. How are you going to get to the goal? Great. And I know heaps of people. The Shire is full of them. People that have bought great assets and they bought one great asset and it's freaking made them heaps of money and that's it. And they don't have a strategy to like, okay, I get a win, but they don't have a strategy to stack wins to get to their goal. They just got one win and that's it and it's done. But having...
Which looks like an unreal win, but when you compare it to something like let's build a portfolio, it's a little bit different, isn't it?
Bit different. And I think the only difference between the two is strategy. You get a win or you have a strategy and the strategy is like longer term, you know? So I'm trying to embed that into my kids. I'm trying to teach them about discipline. One of my oldest does acro and she was talking about, she didn't go on Thursday and she was like, my wife was like, are you going to do it next term? And I was like, it's either a yes or a no. And if it's a yes, every single one she's going to like, just show up. Even if you don't want to do it, just show up. And I try and do that just with running or gym or whatever. Just show up and I'll just progressively get better. And showing up is half the battle, I think.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And tell me, what's it like starting your own business? Because you've been in the industry since 2020, and like, what's the reason behind it? Why are you doing it?
Why am I doing it? I think it's to service more clients. Like, I was in a big agency, you know, and I love this. Like, I met you guys, you and Reese, 2-3 years ago, and relationships is what I love. Like, I think the job that I do of being a buyer's agent, you're holding relationships with your clients and you're holding relationships with agents normally, and you're connecting the right assets to the right people. But for me, I covered the relationships, and it's a big thing for me for someone to trust them. Like normally it's their life savings. Hey, can you invest this in a property for me? To have
Or it's their safety net in your case.
Yeah, right. And for them to trust me to do something of benefit for them, their family, whatever, that means the most to me. So being able to be closer and service people like that are in my network that have been referred to me from people like yourself or whatever, that's probably why I wanted to do it on my own. And I think I've seen like people's stories, right? I think when you're looking at you earn some money. Have you read that book by Robert Kiyosaki, Cash Flow Quadrant?
I haven't, but I shouldn't I? I think this is my time that I need, because I've been recommended a lot of times.
Every person on this podcast is said to you. But he talks about like you move through the quadrants, and it's like employee, self-employed, business owner, investor, right? And he says like you move through the quadrant, right? So it's you. He's got the famous book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but then his other book's Cash Flow Quadrant. And it's like your employee, which I was, and then self-employed. And then the business part is not that you have a business. It's that your business operates without you. And so it's like, okay, how do I get to that stage? And I want to keep going like, this is for myself personally. What I want to have a business is because I want to keep progressing in life. Like I want to have a business, have a team, keep adding the value that I've been adding, but do it through a different vehicle. And then how do I empower, like let's say the Jason 2.0 buyer's agent coming through, for him to invest his money, be a good father or be a good wife or whatever, if it's a guy or a girl. But how do I get them to be the best version of themselves? Like I was at Tony Robbins back in the last year, trying to better myself and better my relationship. I'm just trying to like, how do I keep progressing? I don't know if that'll ever stop. Like, I think that's just in human nature. I don't know if it's just guys full of testosterone or something. But progress is I get bored. Like if I'm just doing the same thing, what am I doing here? Like I want to progress.
And what are your systems like? Because like there's like a lot to metrics and systems. Tell me about it.
Systems. Are you talking about the business?
Both. Yeah, both. The business itself paired with how do you find the right property?
let's go business first. We've got the process mapped out, like around all the way from like talking to someone and finding out where do they sit in their property journey. If they're brand new, they haven't even bought a property, understanding like, let's just call it a customer avatar. What is that customer avatar? What is like their emotional things? What do you recommend them buying, and where do they need to be? I always talk about, you're just starting out, you need to build your asset base. It probably took you a while to save that 100, 150K. How do we replicate that as fast as possible to make you another 100, 150K worth of capital? Then we're starting to move into, okay, how do we get you all the way through to building up your asset base and then transitioning that into cash flow assets that now paying you. Maybe a house in Granny Flat, maybe a commercial property, something like that. Something that will just pay you. That's strategy point of the system. When it comes to clients, property is very simple, but what complicates it is there's so many people involved and there's so many touch points. And now, like in our system, it's basically just like you're moving someone through the process. You're moving someone through each step. And I try and keep every Friday free just to do client calls. Hey man, these were up to, done the building and pest inspection, bang, I've emailed it over to you. Have a look, call me back if you have any questions. Hey, where's your finance up to? Like, it's just, this whole game in real estate, I believe, is communication. Like, what value do I add to my clients? Confidence, reassurance that they're buying in the right area and that the deal won't go sideways and they won't get stitched up. That's really what they're buying. And so how do they know I'm doing that? I've just got to communicate it to them all the time. I've checked this, I've checked this, I've checked this. I've sent it over for you to review. If you have any questions, let me know. Bang, then we'll be just like, yep, sweet, let's go. Hey, like, you've got your rental appraisal, give that to your broker, keep moving, and then CC me into the email, and then, you know, if they have any further questions, I'll answer it. Like, it's just all communication, but it's the same communication to every client on every deal, all the way through to settlement. So that's the business stuff. And then personal, man. My wife and I, because we've just come back from Tony Robbins, we try and do a check-in once a week where we sit down and, okay, these are our goals. We've both got our goals, values, everything printed off next to our beds, and we're trying to practice gratitude every night so we don't get like down and miserable when shit goes wrong. And then we're trying to check in with each other regularly. Like, I'm a communicator. My wife's very much the same communicators, and we just talk. It makes it uncomfortable at times when you're venting things, but I'm addicted to the progress. I want more. Like, I want my relationship to be better. I want my health and fitness to be better. But a few years ago, I actually was working with a mate of mine, and I got offered another opportunity, and I wanted to pursue it, but I was working with a mate of mine. So I felt like this weird thing. And I remember for like 2 weeks, I was just stressing. How am I going to tell him? How am I going to tell him what I'm going to do, what I'm going to do? And I told him, and he's like, oh, yeah, no worries, mate. Oh, good. Like, that's great. That sounds like a good opportunity. Like, just go. And so that was ages ago, years ago. But I was thinking, fuck. Back then I remember I thought, I've got to attack every single hard conversation. I just got to go for it. I just got to lean into it, just go for it. Because if I don't, I stress for 2 weeks and what? Nothing. The outcome was he was happy for me. Good.
I do a lot of that. Like, just in the head, and like exactly what you're saying. As soon as you just face it, it's easy to overcome. It's
normally way better than what you are making up in your head. And so you may as well just have the conversation and keep it moving. But I'm big on communication, man. I try and like overset expectations, just like over communicate everything. And I'd rather someone say, bro, you're communicating too much, dial it back, than, hey, you haven't told me enough.
Yeah.
So
what's the reaction you get from your clients, like with all the communication?
They love it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, most of them love it. Most of them, people like, you answer your phone all the time. You get back to me same day all the time. Like, I appreciate that. Because I know this for myself. If I'm going to try and call a broker, a solicitor, the likelihood that they're going to answer on the first time I try and engage in communication with them is low. But if it was faster, or everything would move quicker. And people do not have time. Most of the time people are using the buyer's agent because they want to buy an investment, but they want to do all these things, but they don't have time. They don't have time to understand the market, let alone call the agent, let alone like chase some stuff. The stuff I'm doing in the Shire, I spoke to this lady the other day and she was like, I just don't have time. Like, or I don't even really, the value in your service, like it's a decent fee, but the value in your service is like, I get my Saturdays back. I don't have to inspect everything. I don't have to talk to real estate agents every Monday, Tuesday morning. So like,
and never get off their database.
So if you can do all of that for me for the next 4 weeks, great, I'll pay the fee. And so that's that's pretty like, the time is the thing, and the communication is what speeds that up. Like, I'm waiting for an answer from you to do my next thing. If I can get that answer straight away, great. Another question I always ask agents when I'm first forming a connection in a new market and clients, what are you? Phone call, text, or email? I'm a texter. Don't call me. Okay, cool. Don't call that client. Just text them. And you find if you can slip into the way that they like communicating, some clients actually say to me, I'll only email you. And I'm only going to email you back in the nighttime. Okay, cool. So I can email them in the morning, get my stuff done, get the hard stuff done in the morning. And then I'm not like sweating, waiting, like, oh, he hasn't got back to me. I'm going to call him. He told me he's going to get back to me in the night times. Every night, that's when he does his personal admin stuff. Okay, cool. And you just like, but it's just communication. It's not going to be the same for everyone. But I don't know. People have said they like it.
Yeah. No, I fully agree with everything you're saying. Like you are genuinely all over it, which is unreal.
You know, the benefit that I feel like I had from the agents that I was at before was just the volume of deals that I got exposure to because I work so closely with the owner. And I'll be so grateful. I'm so grateful for that. Like, you know, people talk about just doing the reps. You just get good at something from doing the reps. And over time, you're doing the reps and you're like, this thing keeps coming up. How do I like just like don't have this anymore?
Yeah.
And most of the time I found it's communication. And that's why I started to add in the question of like when I first meet someone and I first sign them on as a client, how do you like to be spoken to? Text, email, or phone call? How do you want it? Sometimes people say, call me. I'm only a caller. If I miss you, I'll call you back later. But those people want the context. They want context. Some people don't even want. I got one client that I'm working with at the moment from Queensland. You basically just text him. Property address, but I've emailed you the FISO. No worries, I'll look at it. Like there's not much going back and forth, but then he'll write back, yes, happy at this price. Like bang, we'll do the deal. But that's him, you know? I might have, like in my young years, looked at that, I'm like, does this guy not like me? Like why isn't he giving me a bit of banter or something? But he's just a busy guy, he's running his business, but he wants to buy property and all he wants to do is look at something, yes, I like it at this price, bang, you figure out the rest. Cool, okay. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of trust there that you obviously build with the you're a trusted advisor to that client.
But it comes with the reps. With the reps, you're doing your rep. You do the reps, you do the reps. Yeah.
Tell me about that. How many properties have you actually bought? Because I feel like people think, oh, I can just go do this myself. But you're doing this every single day. You've done it every day, probably 7 days a week for the last 5 years.
Yep.
What have you done?
I mean, I would have bought over 650 properties. I bought in New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, WA, NT. All right, so it's like I've bought in a lot of most of the cities. I haven't bought in Adelaide. But yeah, I've bought a lot of properties and you just... You buy that many properties and I've said this a couple of times, but I say it to some mates. I'm saying it on a podcast now, which is a bit silly, but I've said it to some people like, I've bought this amount of properties and I normally show them my tracker or when I'm meeting up with them on the computer. So this is how many properties I've bought and you're saying you want to do it yourself. What's the likelihood that you'll be able to buy a better property in this market than me? Do you know any agents? No. Do you know what things are worth? No. Do you know what things have sold for in the last 12 months? No. And you're telling me you'll buy a better asset in this market than me who's bought this many in the last 6 to 12 months. Like it's just doing the reps. I don't say that with any ego. I say that of like, I have put in the time to finesse, perfect, quickly assess something, understand. Like sometimes speed is the biggest thing for a deal. This is worth this. Will you pay this? Like, yeah, sometimes that happens to people. They get offered a deal. Hey, this needs to happen today. Would you pay it? I don't know. I got to do some research. I've already done the research on the area. I already know what things are selling for. Someone tells me a price. I know what the last 5 or 6 things sold for in that area. I'm like, that's a good price. Do the deal. But you only do that from doing the reps. Doing the reps. Like, people send me shit all the time. I show you my WhatsApp. It's just like walkthrough video. You look at stuff and you're like, you end up knowing what all that stuff sells for, and then you get presented something else that's like 50 grand cheaper than that stuff, and you're like, no brainer.
Yeah.
Everyone else has quoted me this stuff in the last month, and this comes across my desk. Great. You put it
Here
on
it
someone.
is.
Boom. But the lay person would have to do all the due diligence on the market of like what things are sold for, and that'll take you a couple of days to go through all their old sales, talk to all the agents. Why? All right, this one sold for really high. Why did that one sell for really high? This one sold for really high. Why did that one sell for really high? Or that had this issue, that issue, that one sold for really high because it was an out of area buyer and they had no idea what it was worth, and so they just pay whatever I told them to pay. Like this type of stuff forms the narrative of like, well, that's not market value, that's overpriced. So that one probably should have sold for that. And then
I feel like people don't know how much there is to it.
no, I don't think so either.
So it's like there's a lot more that you actually have to do or can do to make sure you're buying the right property, and that sort of gets missed. So
People talk about off markets a lot. People know off markets buys. Don't you get off markets? Yeah, but a lot of off markets are shit.
Yeah.
Because like maybe it's a junior agent, and the junior agent is just like, oh, would you let me sell it off market for you? And they're like, oh yeah, if you get me freaking 4 mil, it's like the house is worth 3.5. But he's just told, and now he's running around with this off market listing, telling everyone about it. It's like, it's overpriced, man. Like I wouldn't even send that to someone.
Yeah.
But that happens in the investment markets too. The exact same thing, not like a...
Just got to wade through it all. It's an off-market opportunity is great, but only at the right price point.
100%. And knowing what that is takes time.
Yeah.
And takes a lot of research.
Because I feel like if you buy a property at auction or in the market, like it's sort of getting priced in front of you. But if you are buying something off market...
How do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know?
Yeah. And a lot of property does come down the feel of it. Like, what are you looking for in property? Because numbers is one thing. Obviously, numbers. Once the numbers tick, what's the next step?
If I were talking investments, I'm mainly going numbers, and then I am looking at like, what's the resale of this? What is our market going to be? Let's say you hold it for its growth cycle, which might be 3 to 5 years. Who's buying this asset afterwards? Like, is it a downsizer? Is it a young family? Is it like, what type of demographics is in this area? And then what do we think it's going to look like? Okay, maybe if we've got a backyard here for a pool. Maybe we spend 100 grand on a pool. Maybe we do all this stuff later on, getting ready for sale. We can attract a massive premium because of the market we can attract to. So
when you built up that equity, especially for a big, like a pool.
100%.
Yeah.
Right? So, but that could maximize your sale price way more. Maybe it doesn't, I've even bought places for people on the investment side of like, it was originally a renovator. A tenant was in there, but the tenant never left. And now it's like gotten to a stage where that market's matured and they want to sell it to redeploy the debt somewhere else. They don't even do the reno because like, you're going to kick the tenant out. You got to wait a few more months. Then you're going to do the reno. That's going to take another month or two. You're 5 months in all of a sudden, and like this opportunity here where you wanted to redeploy the debt is gone. So it's like...
So sometimes you don't need to do that renovation up front.
No.
It can come down the track.
Oh, 100%. I would normally recommend it. Do it later, right? And if you can like withstand it all the way to the very end just before you sell it, do it then, right? But
because then you know how much your property is going to be worth today, what it would mean for a renovation. Instead of doing a 50,000 renovation, you might do 100 because you're going to get another 200,000 if you do.
Exactly. Right?
Yeah.
That's on the investment side. On the owner-occ side, it is very much like I'm working brief to brief. Okay, what are you looking for? What type of budget do you have? How long do you want to stay in this property? Like you're just going down, what are you looking for? And it is still guided by the numbers, but it's numbers and market conditions. Okay, so we're looking for something turnkey. We want something in this suburb. It's clean, blah, blah, blah. That's going to be highly contested. I think it's probably worth, let's say, 250. But I've spoken to the agent. There's 5 people coming to the auction. We might be looking at 2.2 here. It could have some fat in it. Is that what it's worth? Well, not on paper, but the market's going to push it to that because it is a like sought after area. This type of assets are moving a lot at the moment, so that's what it is. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does.
It's like, it's a bit more market conditions as well.
Yeah.
Whereas even in a hot market in the investment space, if it's not worth that, I'm not paying that. And like, even if it's maybe 20 grand more or something, you're like, oh, it's not that much difference. It's like, just let it go. There'll be something else that comes back and we can know it's worth that. Let's pay it.
Yeah.
Or it's a bit of a deal, it's worth less than that. It's worth more than that. Let's pay this price.
And just going back to the off-market opportunities, like, is that a lot of the properties that you're buying, and why are you doing it that way if you are?
In Sydney, probably like 50-50. 50% of the stuff is off-market, 50% is on-market. What is the reason why I'm buying it off-market is normally because it fits the criteria and we can get the deal done off-market. I prefer off-market just for time. Like, there's normally not that much of a rush when you're doing something off-market. If you're buying something on market and the auction's in a week or something, you got to do all your DD, you got to do everything very quickly. And that can be a bit stressful. I'd rather just sit back, cool, calm, like you're just not putting any extra urgency, pressure. There's already that when you're buying something to live in. For the investment space, 80-90% off market.
Yeah. Yeah. And what are these sorts of properties? Are they unrenovated? Are they renovated? Like, what do you see a pattern of any types of things that you're buying off market?
Yeah, depends on the market, but like I've mentioned the Perth stuff because it's so long ago that it's not relevant today in the podcast. Is the Perth stuff that was, I basically destroyed 3x1 double brick houses in Rockingham Council, 2020, 2021, 2022. All 3x1s. Originally, I was buying them for $250. I bought them up to like $350. 3-bed, 1-bath, double brick house on slab in sand. Like that, all that stuff. It seemed that was all of the investment. Like that's what people held as investment properties. If you wanted a 4x2 double brick house, double story, none of those were investment properties. So I just didn't buy them because like they weren't. It was hard to price them, you know. But when you know a market intimately enough, you kind of know what is on most agencies' rent rolls, and you can pick like, bro, even like look at my area for example, Cronulla. You could walk past and be like, that whole block is a rental. Like all those are rentals. All those are rentals. Like you could walk through streets of Willow and be like, those are all rentals. Like it just particular markets have like rental pockets, and that's what they are. And it's the same in Victoria, same in WA, same in Queensland where I bought. Like they all have these pockets, but they're all different. It's hard to. Are they unrenovated? Sometimes not. Like a lot of the stuff in Perth that I bought wasn't unrenovated. There's a lot of stuff in Queensland that I bought was not renovated. I haven't touched it. You know?
Yeah.
But does it make sense of like there's pockets? And
yeah,
every
different.
Every council, there's pockets that are like, that's the investment type stuff. That's where all the investment properties are.
Yeah. Yeah. I only ask that because I'm like, are these properties you're buying sales ready, or are agents going, I've got someone that maybe is interstate that owns this property and wants to just flick it quickly. Yeah.
That's it.
That's usually more the case.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. Or like the very common one is, this is on our rent roll. Sellers just asked for a rental appraisal. They said they'd be willing to sell in this price range. Do you have anyone for it? I'll go send you a walkthrough video tomorrow. And then you have a look at the walkthrough video. Like, it's priced pretty fair. Give them an offer. Bang, done. Like, there's no campaign. It's kind of just like, this guy said he wants to sell. I know you guys are active buyers in this market right now. You want to have a look at it. And then that's how you start to get, like, you speak to 3 or 4 of the big agencies that have decent rent rolls in any particular area. And then all of a sudden you're getting fed like tons of off markets.
Because they've got the direct contacts, they've built the trust with the vendor because they've managed the property. That's right. Then they're having the conversation, hey, we need this replaced. Oh, by the way, did you want to sell this? Is that sort of what they're doing?
100%, yeah. And then they'd normally just call you out like, hey, this guy said, and it's like, you get this like beautiful thing, and it's like, sometimes like you've got the listing has just been sent out and you're like being notified of it. Hey, let's just send this listing out. Like, it'll be all signed up by tomorrow. Are you interested? Bang, they get the listing the next morning. That afternoon at 12 o'clock, there's an offer. But
which looks good for the agent or whoever's putting the deal together as well. So they're loving you because you've got a pool of buyers ready to go.
yes,
So you are getting these opportunities going, I'm going to look so good to my owner here. I can turn this around in 24 hours because I've got the contact that will give me the buyer.
sometimes that's the biggest. On the other side, that's the biggest thing with property. It's not liquid. With shares, we were talking about shares before. Bang, you sell, boom, you get your money back.
Yeah.
Right. With property, if you're talking a 30-day settlement, that's fast.
Yeah.
And then, but how quick are you going to get the offer? If you can get the offer in the first week, great. You don't get the offer in the first couple of days. You get your money in 30 days. Most people they love that.
They don't need to go through a 4 to 6 week marketing campaign, pay or auction campaign, pay marketing, have to clean their house twice a week.
Save the money, right?
So they're going, well, maybe I could get an extra 50 grand if I put it on the market. But what if I don't, and I don't want to go through all that process? So they're the sort of opportunities you're picking up on.
When you do the maths, and the agents that I work with that have got the buyer's agent pitched down, it's like, right, you want an extra 50 grand? If you want an extra 50 grand, we're going to have to tidy this shit up. We're going to have to kick the tenant out. We're going to have to go on real estate. Let's say, just in like marketing shit alone, we're talking maybe 5-6 grand. And then you got to maybe kick the tenant out. So now you got a vacant property. Now you're going to have some holding costs for another maybe month or two, maybe 3, depending on how long settlement is. And okay, let's say that's maybe 10 grand, right? And I'm going to take an extra little bit of commission because we're selling it for 50 grand more. Or you don't pay 10 grand, you don't pay me more commission, and you're probably still walking away in your pocket similar amount of money, right? Like maybe it's not like dollar for dollar, but let's say like the discrepancy is maybe under 5 grand. Most people are like, yeah, right. Just sell it off market.
Just sell it, get it done, move on. Next chapter, because people only sell for a reason. So they're realistically. So what's the reason? Great. You need the cash. Great. Here it is.
Bro. Like some people can't fathom that. I think, and we're like, why aren't they selling for more? Why are they selling off market so cheap? Because they've got other things going on in their life, that's more important than trying to get an extra 20 grand, 30 grand,
Yeah.
My brother sold that place in Perth for 600. And he's like, what do you think? I was like, I think it's worth low sixes. And you got 600. But just the tenant in there right now, and this person's buying it with the tenant in there, you could probably kick him out and try and get 620, 625, 630. But like, what for? What for? Just move it on.
Yeah.
But he's also got,
and it is a risk. Like you don't know what you actually are going to get. So it's like, okay, this is a good price. I'm comfortable with it.
So I can already hear people in the comments. You said before, like you've got a pool of buyers. I can hear people saying like, well then, did he make all the buyers fight for it? Never do that. Never would make, like, I would send it to, I try and go off who signed up first or who gave me their pre-approval first. Mm-hmm. Okay, your pre-approval is expiring sooner, so you get first by the cherry on this one. If you don't want it, I normally ask people, give me a day. Within a day, please let me know if you want the property or not. If you don't, no worries, I'm going to move it on to buyer number 2. And so that way I can give the agent a fast turnaround, but then I can, majority of the clients who the property suits their brief for the investment side it's cleaner. Like it's, yep, great.
I didn't even pick up on that. I'm glad you explained that.
Yeah. Because sometimes the agents tell me, well, you've got 6 or 7 buyers that want this property. Why don't you just create a bidding war? Man, I represent them all. I'm not going to like make them fight over it,
Well, you work for them. You're putting the deal together for your clients.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the part that's the opposite of an agent. Yeah. That I think a lot of people don't understand, one, the value of a buyer's agent, but what does the buyer's agent do? So he really nailed it in explaining it today.
Yeah. But man, it's been a lot of fun. Like the best stuff is, you get a young couple or someone, saying, hey, thanks for buying that place from me in Queensland or whatever. I'm up 150 grand in 12 months, or I'm up this amount of money. You're like, that's real money for them. That's like doing something for them, for their family. And then as well, when you secure them something locally and they absolutely love it, you take them through something off market. I just bought this one for this lady who was moving up from Wollongong. She works for Jetstar, like some like decent level in Jetstar. So she's always at Mascot. But she's driving from Wollongong to Mascot every day, And then I bought her a place in Miranda, and it was the second place I showed her off market. When we got out the front, she's like, I love it. I want this. What do they want for it? I was like, all right, play it cool. I'll call you in the car, and then, we got it under budget, and like, she's stoked. Like, just being a part of that is like, I'm a people person. I love helping people. I love talking to people, connecting. So yeah, it's fun being able to add value.
What's it like? Like, this is high stress, especially, I mean, investors numbers base, it's a little bit different, but owner occupied, they're buying the family home, they're buying something for themselves to live in. Like, do you feel their stress? Because there's a lot of stress from people out there trying to buy property.
I think that I don't want to say make it my mission, but if they're stressed, I haven't done the right thing. I haven't communicated enough of what I'm doing in the market, and I haven't educated them enough about what they're trying to buy, because they're only stressed because they don't know. They don't know, they're uninformed. I'm not stressed because I know what the process is going to look like. I know what opportunity we're going to walk away from or what we're going to take. So it's like, I've got to clearly articulate that to them, and then they should, like, if I still sense a bit of stress, I've got to come back and I've got to reset expectations, because I'm like undervaluing the service, but it's like, it's very easy. Like, places in Gymea Bay, if you want a brand new duplex in Gymea Bay, you're paying, 1.9 to 2.1, like different streets, different pockets. What pockets do you want? Okay, cool. You're paying 2.1. Are you good with that? Yes. And then I'm going out and I'm calling agents that I know that list those type of properties, and I'm probably getting them pre-market, off-market, whatever. And then I've set their expectation. Yes, you're buying in this pocket, but if someone's signing up with me and they're like, man, I want something in Lily Pilly and I want to pay like 1.5, it's like, there's no chance, mate. There's no chance you're going to buy that. But setting the expectation, and when you do that, it should eliminate most of the stress. I think people get excited, like, oh, put the offer in, let's go, let's go. Yeah. I think that's like more nerves, more excitement, but the stress of the process, there shouldn't be any of it.
Good. Yeah. And what about, like, do you do any auction? Like, I'm assuming you do lots of auction bidding.
The auction bidding is
tell
fun.
me about that. What's your process like? What are your tips?
Yes. There is a few buyers agents in the Shire, right? And something that is a good property, I'm normally suspecting that I'm going up against one of the other buyers agents that's representing someone else. So you know what tactics they're going to play, and especially if you know them, you know how they're going to react in an auction. But first of all, when I meet someone to do auction bidding, I'm normally, first of all, giving them a bunch of comps. Hey, this is everything that's sold in Gymea Bay, this particular asset in the last few months. Bang. Da, 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 da. What do you think? They go through them. Well, that's sold for 2.1. That's sold for 2. That's sold for 250. That's sold for 2.2. Yeah, ours is better than this one, worse than that one. I agree. So we think that the price is probably like 2.1. Yeah, I reckon it's probably this one that we're looking at is probably worth 2.1. I agree. I've spoken to the agent. They said there's 5 people registered. I'm normally doing this the week before, right? The week of. The week before I'm giving them the comps. The week before I'm saying, I spoke to the agent. This is how many people. We said that it's worth 2.1. There's 5 people registered. We're going to have some competition. What does competition look like in regards to the budget, right? I think the other professionals that we're probably going to be bidding against are probably going to have the same valuation as us, but people might want it a bit more. So, like, where's your buffered? That's where you'll start. Okay, cool. We'll agree on that. And then I stress test that a little bit. If it got to that and I could win it for an extra 1,000, would you do it? Yes. What about an extra 5 grand? Would you do it? Yes. 10 grand, would you do it? Maybe not. 11? Maybe not. Okay, I'm going to bid up till here.
Because this is a conversation people have on the auction floor.
They do it on the auction floor, right?
Yeah.
I do it on the auction floor. So then I'm doing that then live, and then I'm saying, all right, I'm going to go up to here, but you're going to be with me, and then I'm going to consult after that, right? You are happy with that? Yes. Okay, good. Then I'm going to run through some scenarios, and I'm just writing it down. I recommend we kick off the auction at 250. Okay, why is that? Why wouldn't you start lower? Well, if I start at 1.8, it might be rejected, and it also gives everyone else a bunch of confidence. We know the property is worth 2.1. Yeah. So if you bought any less than that, you've bought a great property. But we also know there's gonna be 5 people registered. We're gonna have competition. So do we want to like start it super low, get everyone involved, to get everyone some momentum, some confidence, and they feel good putting the paddle up and everyone's involved? Or do we want to like start it off strong and like know that if no one else bids at that, we're getting a good price? And then like, okay, cool, start at that price. So I always want to say, we're going to kick it off. This is a price we're going to kick it off at. And then I'm going to control the pace, control the bidding, right? The other professionals normally will come in fast. Extra 10, extra 10, extra 10, extra 10. I'm going to say, if we're up against another professional, we are going to be slow. We're going to be slow. We're going to draw things out. We're going to slow them down. Like we're dictating they're trying to dictate the pace, but they're trying to speed it up. We're trying to dictate the pace by slowing us down. So like you have this battle, right? But those are all the tactics. You want to run through what the property's worth, what's the limits, what's the stretch limits, where's consultation going to be on the day, and then how we're going to open it. Then I go through a few scenarios around like, this is how I would like to start. We're starting at, in this example, 2.50. I'm going to go in increments of 25. Once I get to 2.1, we're going to go to increments of 10. Then at this, we're going to go increments of 5.
Really structured, thought out approach. So when it's happening in front of them, they go, bang, this is exactly
he spoke about this.
to plan.
He spoke about this. He spoke about this. He spoke about this. We get to 2.2. Hey guys, we're at 2. Like they seem to be at the end. And I'm also consulting on like their strides have gone from 20 to 10 to 5. They've been at $1,000 bids before us. I think they've shortened before us. They're also at the end. Like it's crunch time, and then like there's 2 more bids and it's crunch time, and you just like talking them through. So,
and I'm sure, are you watching body language? Where are you positioning yourself anywhere at an auction?
Yes, very good point. You want to be positioned. I'm trying to face the crowd. I'm trying to stand. I'm not watching the auctioneer. Everyone's watching the auctioneer. What's he doing? Nothing. So I'm trying to face the full crowd.
That is the secret sauce, because I say stand at the back, but that's even better. Looking, you can actually see people's faces.
100%. I want to see what other people are doing, and I don't mind if they see what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing, and my clients know what I'm doing. But if sometimes you go and talk and you have the consultation, it's because we're close to a limit, but the plan's already set. Like we're not trying to find more budget. We know what the budget is, and it's just consultation. Are you guys still comfortable for me to push? Yeah, no worries. Yep, sweet, that's the plan. Yep, that's the plan. So, and if you're out in front, like, and you're dictating the pace, like you try and bully them and try and speed it all up. If sometimes the consultation is not needed because you're getting it done before. So, but there's lots of different. The auctions are the funnest, man. Yeah, the auctions are the funnest.
They are fun, but people are scared, because they're going up against someone like yourself. Like there you go.
But it's mainly because people are unprepared. So many people rock up to these auctions in the Shire. The guy price is 1.5 mil, and then like everyone's there. There's like 40 people there. You're like, all these people, like, what are all these people doing here? And then like only 2 or 3 people bid because everyone's nervous. Everyone thought they might get a bargain at 1.4 or 1.450. It's like this price point is red hot. And if I'm doing that for a client, I'm like, this is going to be red hot. Like, if you're not willing to pay like 1.6.5, 1.7, like, I don't know what we're doing here.
So will you go to an auction knowing that they're just nowhere around the price, or do you you just go, this is what it's like? You have that pre-conversation. Yeah, and that's why I used to just like, hey, would you bid for me? And then you get the budget and you just rock up and you just throw the paddle up, and like, I still get paid on doing that for people, but like, I'd rather just like give a real good service, real good education, blah blah blah. And what's it taking me? I'm doing comps on things every day. It's not hard to run the comps and send something out to people, but no, I don't do it anymore. I used to, but I don't do it anymore. Yeah. If you're not in the ballpark and we don't agree with what the property's worth, and you're not willing to go a bit over, go on your own. Yeah, throw that early bid up and see if it sticks. Right? Yeah. Bro, the one thing I see people do all the time, people want to give themselves a lot of runway. A lot of runway. And it's like, you're giving, you're feeling the nerves, everyone else is feeling the nerves. If you come in close to what you believe the property's worth, give that, like, if you're buying at 50 grand under what it's worth, that's a great opening bid, and that's a great, like, way to buy it if you're the only bidder. More than likely, the reserve would be probably over that anyway. So, like, you're not buying it. You're going to go into the back room and talk to the agent anyway. So, people are always so... But what happens if I'm that person who gets to buy something at auction way under market value and no one else is there? It's like, how many auctions have you been to in the last month? Oh, none. Well, I've been to, like, all of them at this price point, and that's not happening. Yeah. Oh, really? I was really hoping that maybe I would, like... It's like, mate, it's... Maybe in a different market, in a different year, at a different universe, but in this one that we live in, this particular price point's red hot, and you're going to have competition. We got to prepare for that. But people come in with this like massive amounts of hope
And that's like they want to buy a house, whatever. But like you got to educate, communicate, let them know.
Yeah, no, I love it. And tell me, where do you see the property market going?
It'd be very interesting this year. What I'm seeing, like, what we're filming this when mid-April, pretty much.
Yeah,
mid-April. We're pre-election. We are. There's a lot of talk about rate cuts. There's a lot of talk about tariffs. I think I'm talking mainly in the Shire because I don't know what's going on here. But stuff in the Shire, like 2.5, 3 mil plus. If you're buying that type of a house, you'll probably be a business owner, and stuff that's going on, you're probably not just all in your house. You probably got businesses going pretty well. You probably got some type of share portfolio. You've got money in lots of other places than just your house. Those people are a little bit slow at the moment. They've been more active. Back in the last year, they were pretty slow as well. Not much was trading, in like the higher nice end stuff. Election, tariffs, and all that type of stuff. So that's slowing the higher end down. The middle of the market, like the 1.5s to like low 2s, it is that's pumping.
Yeah,
like that's just the everyday person.
Here. Apartment market pumping,
and the apartment market
because that's the price point around here for that. So yeah.
So and then you're talking a nice 3-bedroom apartment, busy. Like if you're selling apartments in the Shire, you got volume and it's not difficult. If you're selling something for like it starts with a 1. Bro, there's heaps of buyers around. And I don't think those people are just probably on salary, income's fixed, everything's clean. It's like normal. They're selling this house. They'll make the X amount. They'll move into this. Bang, done. Like, but that's like the mortgage bill of the Shire. Like. Let's say 1.6 to 2.1, 2.2, like that's majority of people.
Yeah.
But I think that market will push. I think that market's going to just stay red hot. I mean, if we get a few more interest rate cuts, it's just going to,
it's going to manufacture growth straight off the bat.
Yeah. That 1.6 will turn into 1.7, 1.8, and then the 1.2 will turn into 2.4, 2.5, and like it just shift up.
Yeah, and it's just based on you can borrow more, you can afford more. Why not? Like, well, why wouldn't you? Because otherwise you just sit on the sidelines and watch it go past you. So is that fear? Do you see that fear of missing out, maybe potentially coming back into the market?
This week I've got 2 text messages. These are for investment properties. I want to load up before the interest rate cuts come. That's what people have said to me. I want to load up. So, and I think the affordable investment market sub, 600,000, it will just a couple of interest rate cuts. You're not $1,000 a month negative. Now all of a sudden you're like $500 a month negative to $700 negative. People are just like, all right, bang,
how do I go? How do I get the second one? How do I get the third?
They're just going to keep rolling. So
yeah,
I think that's like a 6 to 12 month little forecast of like what's going to happen over the course of the year. It's going to be very interesting with what ends up happening more with the stock market and the tariffs. Even the election, I don't know, people just slow down the election.
Yeah. Which it doesn't actually make a massive impact on who gets in Labor or Liberal on the property market. And I think a lot of people miss that. Maybe at a state level, that definitely impacts. But at a federal level, like, do you see an impact?
No, not really, no.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's mainly just like the top end of town. I think it impacts because some businesses will be impacted on decision making. It's like if stuff in the building space changes, then maybe like there's a lot of builders down the Shire that like do really well. Like, are they doing as many projects? Is there going to be more supply coming? Like, how much is that impacting? Not much, but it would have some type of justification in the narrative. But like, is it going to stop the average punter buying a place in Kirrawee for 1.7 million? No. Like, is it going to be worth more or less because Labor's in, not Liberal or whatever? Like, no. So
yeah,
but we do this as humans. Like, we just put these like funny barriers in place, like we were talking about, like you just stress about a conversation for 2 weeks. What for?
Yeah.
We just put these barriers there. It's like, oh, I've got to wait for this to happen, or I've got to do this before I do that. Like, why? Oh, that's just how I feel comfortable doing it, and we say that to justify it to ourselves, but it doesn't really matter.
Love it.
Yeah.
Good summary. But tell me, to wrap it up, what's next for your business?
Next.
Where does your agency go?
Man, what's next for us? Buyer's Edge Property. sourcing more investment properties for clients, helping them. For me, majority of those clients are RentVest clients. You know, they're pouring a lot of their money into building a portfolio interstate than here in Sydney. And then keep helping people in the Shire, man. It's a very fun thing to do. We'll be scaling the team. We've got one guy probably starting in the next 3 or 4 months. And then we'll probably just keep adding buyers agents to just service more clients. But I think that's probably it. Grow the team a little bit more and keep servicing the rent vesting market and then the owner-occupier market in the Shire.
And building wealth. And I didn't ask this earlier, and it just hit me then. What's your post-service like after they bought the place? How involved are you post-purchase?
For the home, like, you know, you give a little settlement gift. That's about it.
Yeah.
You still speak to people or whatever, they text you. But in the investment space, way more, because we're talking about a strategy to reach a goal. And I'm still very connected with the Perth market. I still talk to the majority of the agents every week there. It's not like talking about deals, but like I've connected my brother with an agent there to sell his place and then just stuff like that. But we keep tack on what's happening in the markets that we've put clients in. And then, hey, I think your property's worth this now. We bought 12 months ago for 450. I think you're close to 600. Let's speak to the broker, get a bank valuation. Yep, cool. Okay, we've got 70 grand years of equity here. Let's see if we can go again. Bang. Yes. Okay, Let's go again. Right, we probably need a capital growth asset again. These are the markets that we're looking at. Digest this information to see if that's what you want to do and you're comfortable with these markets. Yes, I'm comfortable with those markets, but load up, go again, next deal.
Love it.
So it's most people are hitting me up before, hey, can I order a reval now? Do you reckon it's gone up enough for me to order a reval? But majority of the time we're just touching base every 6 months. Hey, this is where we see the market's at. You know, are you keen to go again? And most people are just like, yeah. Most people are chasing me, to be honest.
Yeah.
When can I go again? It's a question, a common text. When
you provide so much value, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that's a post service. And then stuff in the Shire, like, I mean, I'm around the Shire all the time. I see most of my clients that I bought for just at the shops, like at Westfield or down at Cronulla or something. You just catch up with them, you see them.
Yeah.
So, man, it's been nice coming. I can't believe you invited me here today.
Yeah, you're the man.
Thank you.
So, do you want to just wrap it up? How can people contact you? Yep. How can they work with you? What can they do?
They can reach us on, maybe just email me is an easy place to start if you just want to come direct. It's jason@buyersedgeproperty.com.au. They can find me on Instagram. I do some auction reviews on my Instagram around the Shire. Handle is @JaceTitus, JaseTitus. Instagram, email, and then website will be www.buyersedgeproperty.com.au.
Love it, mate. You're full of knowledge. You clearly know what you're doing. You've looked after heaps of our clients. So thanks so much for all your work. And mate, to anyone listening, I hope you picked up something from that because this man knows his stuff.
Thanks, Blake. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening to Pack Chat.